Okay, we need to lighten the mood. Ready? It doesn't matter how much you push the envelope, it'll still be stationary.
What is that?
It's a joke book. No pun intended. Volume 2 by Will Livingston.
Let's keep going.
What did the Confederate soldiers use to eat off of? Silverware.
Uh-huh.
What did they use to drink with? Cups. Dixie cups. I walked into my sister's room and tripped on a bra. It was a booby trap. A book just fell on my head. I only have myself to blame. Or wait, I said it wrong. Hold on, let me read it again. A book just fell on my head. I only have my shelf to blame. I ruined it. What is the leading cause of divorce in long-term marriages? A stalemate.
That's awful.
You're awful.
Do you even understand what that means?
Nope. Doesn't matter. That's it. That's all I got.
Hey everybody out there in YouTube land, this is the Mighty Eskimo, and this is What It Is This Is, and What It Is This Is today is going to be The Last of Us. Now The Last of Us is going to be one of those blockbustery titles that is going to be hard to beat. I know that there are newer titles that are coming out here pretty soon that everybody's clamoring for. We got Grand Theft Auto, Battlefield, Watch Dogs is going to come out here pretty soon, that looks amazing. The Last of Us set that bar so high that I don't think the competitors will be able to match it anytime soon. Give you a fair warning that some of this video that I'm going to show is going to be a little graphic for some people, so if you're a little squeamish, I would definitely not recommend playing this game, let alone watch this review. On this video I want to talk about the meat of the game, which is the single player, but I'll do another video to talk about the multiplayer later down the road. Give you a quick overview of this game. Basically it's a story about Joel and Ellie and their quote-unquote adventure through this post-apocalyptic wasteland. The reason why it's post-apocalyptic, these infected creatures are roaming the land and has basically destroyed 2/3 of the population, probably even more. And it's interesting, what caused this actual infection is a real-life fungus that infects smaller creatures like bugs, spiders, plant life, and now has mutated to infect humans as well. You can actually check out their video on discovery.com or whatever. It's basically this fungus infects the creature, makes them go crazy, and then blooms to infect other creatures. Thinking back on it, even though the infected creatures were the cause of all the chaos and the problems, the way the people handled it probably exacerbated the problem at hand. There were riots in the streets, the military didn't handle things well and wanted to quarantine everything, and then you had this left-wing faction who just thinks that they know best and are going to do everything their way. Which actually brings me to one of the main points of this game, is that it's not really about the zombies. Let's just get out of the way. They're called zombies. But they're not about the zombies. It's actually about the people in the situation of these zombies. So you know what a zombie's going to do. You know it's going to come at you. You know it's going to eat you. You blah, blah, blah. You know how to handle that. But when you come up against people, you have no idea where they're standing. Are they going to betray the fuck out of you? Are they going to be your friends forever and besties for life? Nobody fucking knows, and nobody trusts anybody because of that. So I probably already spoiled enough of the story for you, so I'm just going to drop it and move on to gameplay. Gameplay is absolutely amazing. The guns feel like they should feel. The bolt-action rifle feels like a bolt-action rifle. The bow and arrow feels like a bow and arrow. And I can't tell you how satisfying it is to hit somebody with a Molotov cocktail, or to sneak up behind them and shiv them in the neck. Stealth is actually a really big part of this game, and I absolutely love it. I'm a big fan of Metal Gear Solid and Deus Ex and other games that incorporate stealth along with the action. In fact, in this game, you don't really have to kill a lot of people. You can go through and keep the killing to a minimum. There's almost nothing more badass than going into a heavily armed facility and leaving without hardly anybody knowing that you were there. This is actually one of the only survival horror games that I really feel like has hit the mark when it comes to survival horror. You don't get a lot of ammo, there's not a lot of health, and you have to scrounge around for parts and pieces to actually make useful items. You're also not a bullet sponge, so if you're not taking cover or, properly strategizing what you're going to do next, you're probably going to die. A little tip for you as well. When you find a shiv door, and you'll know what I mean when I say shiv door when you come across it, definitely use it. They're always worth it. The visuals in this game are absolutely outstanding. There are hardly any games that hit this kind of quality. It's not just your typical post-apocalyptic wasteland with deadness everywhere. It's actually the crumbled society that we once knew, and it just has been taken over by nature. And every place you visit actually has its own feel and its own personality. So when you visit that town, or when you talk to these people in this area, or when you're up in the foothills, not only will you remember them because they're aesthetically pleasing, but they also make you feel that you're part of this living, breathing world. The characters in this game also make you believe that it's a living, breathing world, mainly because they actually act like real people. Every single one of them has character flaws and subtle emotional quirks that just make you believe and feel for these characters. And that actually brings me up to the character development, because the character development is so good in this game. Right from the get-go, you feel sorry, and you actually want to help these people. And then when something happens to a character, you actually feel more tied to that character, which immerses you more into the game. And that's what this game really does well. It immerses you into the experience. As far as gripes about the game, there aren't a lot of them, but there are a couple of nagging ones that I had to mention. First of all, when you first load up the game, like when you first press new game, it actually takes a fucking long ass time to load. It's like a ridiculous amount of time. I sat there for a good 10-15 minutes, and it felt like it would never end. I'm also kind of okay with that gripe, mainly because through the rest of the game, you don't even realize there's any loading screens, if there are any loading screens, because I really and honestly can't remember any ones during the game. Another small gripe of mine, which isn't even really a gripe, I just thought I'd mention it, was that this game is super brutal. I mean, there are some gore and guts that I've seen in other games, but this one is more realistic and more immersing than any of those other games, so you really feel like this is actually happening. And sometimes that's not a good thing. Sometimes you cringe, like, while you're playing the game. But again, that's just on the quality of immersion that this game can do. My last and probably biggest gripe of this game is that the immersion is so good, you don't want to be brought out of it because you're just so enthralled with what's going on screen. But once in a while, the characters that follow you actually take you out of immersion because they're running around like idiots, sometimes knocking into enemies when you're trying to be super stealthy. The stealth can be very intense, but then you see Ellie just bolt around the corner in plain view, and the enemies just not react to it. Now granted, I don't want them to react to it because that would just make this game balls, but there should have been something in the realm of hiding her, or doing something where she stays further behind you, or something to where that wouldn't happen. To wrap things up, as far as the score goes, I think this game should get a high recommendation. Definitely pick it up. This also has an A+ on it, and it also has like a 9.9 out of 10. I mean, a game can't be perfect, that's why I give it a 9.9, but it's probably the closest you're ever going to get. Hell, play it with a friend, play it with your girlfriend, play it with your boyfriend. It's actually a lot of fun with a couple of people in the room, because not only are you wrapped up into it, but so are they. Thanks for sticking around till the end. My name is the Mighty Eskimo. This is What It Is This Is. Like and subscribe if you like this stuff. Leave a comment, let me know how I'm doing. And now I leave you with another round of Ellie's Joke Book. Thanks for watching.
Bakers trade bread recipes on a need-to-know basis. Need.
I get it.
A moon rock tastes better than an earthly rock because it's meatier. Oh man, that made me hungry. A backwards poet writes in verse.
Do you even get that?
Of course not. I used to be addicted to soap, but I'm clean now.
Alright, I've actually never heard that one.
Okay, I'm all joked out. Now what?